Okay. Hi everybody. It's been a very long time since I've uploaded a YouTube video. I hope I'm audible to everyone. I thought of making this video very briefly to talk about same-sex marriage. It's an issue that I've been talking about for a while now, and I'm primarily referring to this article that's come out in the Bar and Bench. There are many articles that have come out in various news platforms that talk about how the central government has opposed same-sex marriage in the Supreme Court. And I have been talking about this issue for a while, and my stance has always been that denying a same-sex couple the right to marry is a violation of their fundamental rights. I said this way back in 2020 when this conversation was just happening, and I want to reiterate that. I'm just going to look at the arguments made by the government, and I want to shed some light on it and prove how ridiculous some of it is. So, I mean, the government has said that it would only recognize a biological man as a husband, a biological woman as a wife, and children born out of the union between the two. This itself is preposterous because there was a verdict, I believe, in the Madras High Court, which recognized within the Hindu Marriage Act a trans woman marrying a cis man. So you already have these kinds of marriages. And you have this government that claims to be a supporter of transgender rights. It has set up a transgender council. You have this government passing a transgender protection act. But in the line, if you look at what the government has written when it comes to same-sex marriage, it doesn't really target only gay people. It also targets transgender people because it talks about biological males and biological women. So while the argument is between two men of the same sex or two women of the same sex who are presumably cis, the government says that even transgender and cis marriages would not be recognized, which is a violation or an attack on transgender people as well. So the government has actually gone above and beyond its discrimination. And the second thing is that families come in various shapes and forms. You also have adoption. So I don't understand why it said biological man, biological woman, and a child born out of the union of the two. I think that also stigmatizes the idea of surrogacy and adoption when it makes such a statement. Um, the government then goes on to say that um, let me see here. It says that while all citizens have the right to association, there is no concomitant right to be that such associations in the form of marriage must necessarily be legally granted by the state, nor can the right to life and liberty under 21 be read to implicitly approve same sex marriage. Why? The government is not clear on this. Why can right to life not be applied to the life of a same sex couple, a group of people who've experienced discrimination for years, a group of people who have struggled with their sexuality, a group of people who, with great difficulty, find a same sex partner, a group of people who have to fight against family to stay with that partner? Why does that not come with the ambit of right to life? And why does the state not have the duty to include them as a part of the family unit? In the United States, when President Obama was president, yeah, when President Obama was president, um, there was a case before the US Supreme Court on the issue of same sex marriage. At that time, Obama's government, supported same sex marriage. And he actually sent his own lawyers to argue the case in favor of legalizing it. So you do have governments that can support same-sex marriage. This government could have done that. It could have shown support, and the matter would have been closed then and there. But instead, this government is politicizing the issue, and that's why I want to talk about politicizing queerness, because a lot of people say queerness should not be politicized. It need not be politicized. If you recognize same-sex marriage under the under the Special Marriage Act for the time being, make its way through courts. The Special Marriage Act is a secular piece of legislation. There is no need for it to be politicized. But this government has stepped in, creating chaos, creating confusion, not confusion and chaos, but basically putting bigoted statements like this and unnecessarily politicizing it, pushing people into two camps, supporters and non supporters. So I would say that if anyone is politicizing the issue, it is this government. Um, Next, um, it says that the intent of the legislature was limited to the recognition of legal relationship of marriage between a man and a woman. The intent of the legislature at that time may have been so, because at that time homosexuality was still a crime. It was still a crime because of the wrongdoings by the medical community, by the wrongdoings of the scientific community, wrongdoings of the psychological community, which pathologized homosexuality. In 2018, the Indian Psychiatric Association came out and said that homosexuality was not a mental disorder. So the intent of the legislature way back whenever may have been to only recognize unions between men and women, because at that time homosexuality was thought of as a mental disorder. It was only in 2018 that we realized that it's not a mental disorder, it is normal, it is natural. So if in 2018 we get new information, why can that new information not be used to improve the legislature's understanding of family? Why do we have to stick to old and archaic thoughts that were based on wrong assumptions about homosexuals? So this original intent argument makes no sense. Um, the Domestic Violence Act, I understand, was made gender neutral, but the court still says that even though the Domestic Violence Act is gender neutral, that doesn't mean we will make marriage laws gender neutral. I would say, why not? The Domestic Violence Act was made gender neutral because it wanted to expand the ambit of who can be affected by violence. A gay man can be affected by violence by another gay man. A woman can be affected by violence by another woman. So if the DV Act was made gender neutral, why can the marriage laws not be made gender neutral? It makes common sense. It is moving towards recognizing that violence can come from various people and various corners. And then it also said that the state does not recognize these forms of marriages or unions or personal understandings between individuals in a society, but the same are not unlawful. Well, thank you for not banning same sex marriage, because in Russia it is banned, it is constitutionally banned. Here it is not banned, but it is not recognized. So I don't think this is, I think to say that same sex marriage is not banned does not really mean much. I think it's like saying that you're not criminals. You can do whatever you want, but we will not treat you the same way we treat the person living in the next door house. I have a younger brother. If my brother is heterosexual, he and his wife, if he gets married, will be treated a certain way. Me and my partner will be treated a certain way, but he will be here and I will be here. He will have this many legal rights, I will have this many legal rights. Me and my partner, he and his wife, assuming he's straight. How is that logical in any sense? And then, the court went on to say it'll affect the delicate balance of personal laws. It'll create havoc in, I believe, it said it will create havoc with our personal laws. If I recall correctly, this government wanted to consolidate all the personal laws and make a uniform civil code. So why not make a uniform civil code that is gender neutral? That would solve the problem. I'm just saying all these things out loud. These are just my thoughts. What I'm basically saying is that I find the government's arguments stupid. I find them unscientific. I find them problematic. They are homophobic. They're based on very homophobic and transphobic, as I said, biological man, biological woman, transphobic stereotypes about the queer community. I think that this government has shown that it has fake support for the LGBTQ community, if at all any. It passed the Transgender Protection Act. It has a transgender council. What's the point of it if this is what you're going to say in front of the Supreme Court? And as far as gay people are concerned, where is the representation of gay people in this government? Where is the You have a transgender council? Where's the homosexual council? Where is the LGBTQI council? There should be a council for people of all sexualities. You will not see that. So overall, I think the hearing is on Monday, which is today. I wish that the Supreme Court does the right thing and recognize that not granting homosexual people the right to marry is a violation of various articles of the Constitution. I believe 14, 21, and 19 are the ones that are before the court. I don't have access to the actual petition. I really believe it is. I think many gay people have filed petitions before the courts, and we have seen from various countries that this is a violation of a person's fundamental right to life with dignity and respect. Nobody should have to fight for the legal right to marry somebody as an adult when they're in a consensual relationship with somebody they love. And to make excuses, because what the government is doing is making excuses is not sufficient. The government can have the interest to further the rights of the LGBTQ plus community. This government is not interested in doing that. And that's all I have to say about this issue. Thank you so much for listening. I will make more videos as and when I get time. My email ID is segalkanav@gmail.com. You can email me your thoughts and I'll be happy to respond to them if I get time. Thank you so much for listening and all the best. Have a great day.